Hey everyone, it's Jen Fontanella, your money coach, and I'm committed to helping the emerging entrepreneurial woman master her money and her mindset so that she can create an amazing financial future. So I didn't realize this was going to become a credit three-part series, which it's now becoming. So if you didn't catch the other two videos, I talked about why, what you should do with your credit, especially right now at the time of the recording. We're going through COVID, quarantine, coronavirus stuff. Making sure that you also check your credit report for any discrepancies and things like that. And you can get that for free online at annualcreditreport.com now on a weekly basis up until April of 2021. And then in the second video, I talked about the different things that are the different components that make up, your score. How do they come up with your credit score? But I wanted to just rattle off 11 different tips on things that you want to pay attention to when it comes to boosting up your score. Some of the things that you want to make sure that you are practicing good habits on. And in order for you to increase your score, you need to know what are the tricks that I need to do. What are the things I need to avoid? So without further ado, I want to just rattle those off. So the first one is, let me preface it with this, and I said this in the last video, but I think it's really important to not only to say this to increase your score, but I think the context of which I am saying this is from a lender's perspective. I am not a lender, but I'm saying that because most people's dream, especially when I meet with them, is to buy a home or is to, I want to start investing in real estate. And so in order for you to do that, you have to have a good score. So you have to do these things in order to raise that score. So I say this within the context of these are things that, lenders are going to tell you, there's so many different things that you can do to increase your score on your own. So let me just say that. Okay, so the first one is to focus on revolving accounts. So I'll give you the quick difference. There's revolving, and then there's the ones that are not revolving or like loans. Revolving would be like the credit cards. Like the balance can go up, the balance can go down, as opposed to your auto loan. It's one amount, and you're making steady payments. It's not like the auto loan balance increases and decreases and increases, unlike your credit cards, where it can fluctuate depending on the type of use. Depending on how you're using it, okay? So those you really, really want to pay attention to because you want to pay also attention to the credit utilization. So in the last video I talked about you want to keep that number under 30%. So for example, if you have a credit card that's worth $1,000 in terms of your available credit, $1,000, you don't want to have a balance that's carried on it more than $300. You want to show that, okay, I'm at that 30% range. You want to keep it lower. If you're going to go and pay for something that's, $900, but you pay it off by the end of the month, that's fine. But for some people, it's good to practice, low credit utilization. And sometimes you just really, depending on your level of discipline. So just remember 30% is the safe zone. The second one is payments on time. Make sure you are paying your credit card bills on time. This is so critical because it makes up most of your score. They want to see that you are being responsible with paying on time. Here's the other thing too. Do not be late on car payments. That one has a huge effect on your score. So if anything, if you have to borrow money, if you have to figure it out, do not miss those car payments. It's a huge ding on your score when that happens. The third one is collections. If you are in a situation where one of the cards has gone into collections, find out what you can do about it. Find out, okay, can I get on some kind of payment plan? What kind of arrangements are available to me? Because the lender will look at it like, okay, are you in a situation where you've made, you're showing good faith, you're showing effort that, hey, I'm trying to rectify the situation. I'm trying to, make good of what happened, and so I'm showing responsibility. It's what happens is the danger is when we don't do anything and it's like, okay, well, that's all said and done. Like, okay, I'm just going to kind of bury it under the hatchet and move on with my life. No, I'm telling you, this stuff will haunt you. This stuff will come up later on because it's happened to me in so many different ways. So, a lot of what I tell you, I've gone through it myself. And that's why I'm so huge on sharing with you guys financial forgiveness. And it's so important for you to remember that we all make mistakes. But the thing is, there's hope because everything can be fixed within time. But you have to start at some point, okay? So anyways, I don't want to get off on a tangent. So make sure that you focus on those collections. I would focus on things that are with your, revolving debt. Focus on those types of things. And here's another one. If there's medical collections, focus on those ones last. If you have a list, now if that's the only one, then focus on that. But if, let's say you had 3 to deal with, if you're in that situation, focus on the revolving debt first. And if there happens to be medical collections, I would say deal with that one last. It's without going into it, it's weighed a little differently than the other types of credit. The fourth one is not to carry too much credit. So this is going back to, don't apply for too much credit, because what happens is when you keep applying and filling out those applications and they come into the mail, there's going to be what they call a hard inquiry. So these lenders, these places they're pulling their credit, and it's showing up like, hey, this person keeps applying. Hey, this person keeps applying for credit. It hurts your score. So be careful and very mindful for how many times you are applying. Okay, oh gosh, I totally forgot about this. But when you go to the store and you're ready to check out, and they're like, hey, would you like to apply for the store credit card? You'll get 30% off. Yeah, no, don't do it. Okay, especially if you already have. Which brings me to the next one is your credit mix. So if you are already in a situation where you have a good mix of credit, so let's say, for example, you have 1 to 4 major credit cards, great. Maybe you have 1 to 2 retail, great. Then that means do not go to the next store and you already got 2 retail cards. Don't apply for it because you're thinking about, oh, I'm going to get 30% off my purchases today if I apply. No, you have to think about how this is hurting you, so just say no. Okay, now it's a different story where if you have no credit, you got to start building it. And I said this in the last video. I go, that's going to be another video, because I have run into people who say like, oh, credit's evil, credit cards are bad. Like, no, like with anything, it's how are you responsible with it? It's not good, it's not bad. It's just like, I think that's one of the ones that just makes me cringe, because if you don't get credit, how are you going to apply for anything? How are you going to, and this is another video, but like, how are you going to incorporate other wealth building strategies? Because there's so much power in leverage, and there's so much power in knowing how to use tools that are available to you to build wealth and to manage your money. So with that said, just know that I want you to understand, if that's a philosophy or something that's been ingrained in you, what's bad is when we develop these bad habits and then we get into the trouble and the problems that we have. But if you are learning how to be responsible with it, it's not a bad thing, because you need credit. You have to build that up. So do you see how this works? If you don't build it up, how are you going to apply for the home loan and then get a house? You're not. Because you can't just say, hey, and I said this last time, unless you are able to amass anywhere between $500,000, depending on what state you're in and how the real estate market looks like in your area, most people are not going to have $500,000 sitting around and be able to pay for the house in cash. This is why we have mortgages. Okay, so the 6th one is to maintain the credit for at least 2 years. And what I mean by that is because part of the credit score is also composed of credit history, how long you've had the cards. So it's good if you have these cards, like you had a card that's like 5 years old, it's seasoned, so it's good, because sometimes people have asked me, well, should I close this card out? Should I, I'm like, no, because how long have you had it? Have you made payments on time? No, that helps you. So length of history is super, super important. The 7th one would be keep small balances and then pay them off. So you don't want to have it where it's completely zero. That actually hurts your score. Credit cards are a little strange. There's like these it's almost like a game. You have to see how far you can tip the certain limits and things like that, where it doesn't affect you, but you still want to show kind of activity. I feel like if I could summarize it, it's about how do you demonstrate daily responsibility when it comes to using a credit card. And the unfortunate thing is that the reason why people get into so much trouble is because they don't understand how these things work, and they don't understand how it affects them and how it affects the choices they have later down the road when you are going to buy a car, when you are going to buy a home, things like that. I mean, even affecting job applications. Some employers pull credit. I mean, even if you're going apartment hunting, they will pull your credit because they want to see, is this person that's applying to be a tenant going to be responsible? Well, they don't know you, so they have to base it on your credit score. So those are some of the examples of how this affects us in our daily lives. The 8th one is to pay down a, I don't even know what I wrote there. Oh, lowest balance. I couldn't write. I have these notes right here. Pay down the lowest balance. So if you have a card that's got like, maybe 200, 300 left, you will, you want to pay that off. So it's important to make sure that if you have one that has a low balance, just pay that off. Another one would be to pay down the card with the highest utilization. So remember we talked about like that 30% threshold. If you have a card that is at like 80%, 50%, start working towards getting that back down to that safe zone at 30%. So, take a look at your credit cards. Take a look at, list it out and see which one has the highest balance. I'll also drop a link in the comments or actually in the caption. There are some free online apps I think you can take a look at. They're great. You use which one's better. The one that you use is the best one, the one that you use. So it's really your preference. One of them actually has 7 different methods. Some people like the snowball effect, not the snowball effect, the debt snowball. There's another idea where, okay, do I pay the one with the highest interest rate? Or do I pay the one with the highest balance? Or, that kind of thing. You can play around with that. It's more of a psychological thing because some people want to feel like, oh, I paid this one off. Okay, I'm motivated to keep moving forward. So you use what works for you, because you have to realize that sometimes this is not going to be like, oh, I'm only going to do this for 3 months and be done. For some people, it can take a couple years. It took you time to get to this level. It's going to take you some time to clean it up. Okay, so the 10th one is to ask for, and this might sound counterintuitive, but this one is to ask for credit increase. But don't use it. And we ask, well, what do you mean ask for a credit increase? So for example, let's say you had that card I was talking about in the very, very beginning that had $1,000 credit limit. If you're asking for an increase and they decide, hey, okay, fine, yeah, everything looks good. You've been on time with everything checks out. We're gonna give you $1,500. So your credit utilization, if there was a balance on it, that alters the ratio. So that works in your favor. But here's the key. You don't use it. So, it's kind of like that same idea when people get a raise at work and then they're like, oh yeah, because when people get more money, they tend to spend more. So, if you're going to ask for the credit limit increase, be sure that you are responsible and that you don't use it. But if you do happen to use it, make sure you pay it off before the next month or whatever your cycle is. And then the last one is to become an authorized user for a major credit card. So this one's a little tricky. And the reason why is because it really requires responsibility. So for example, let's just say, my kid's only 8 right now, but let's just say I wanted to help him out and build his credit. I can get a card for him under the same account, or and he can be an authorized user. This is going to help his score. So it's kind of like you're writing off my coattails. I'm showing, I'm doing everything great. I have the high score, and you're going to get to write off my coattails because you are an authorized user on the account. So this definitely, you want to do this with somebody you trust. I would not, that should be another video. Because I've done that in the past. So stupid, like so dumb. Don't do that for a friend. So you have to be very, very careful with this one. It's typically like a parent-child situation type of thing, or spouse. But that's another way. I'm not going to get into the details, but just know that becoming an authorized user for a major card, that's the key too. You don't want to, I don't even know if you can do it, but you don't want to be an authorized user on like an Old Navy card. You definitely want to stick to, Amex, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, the major trade lines. So with that, I went really, really long. So those are 11 different things that you want to keep in mind when it comes to how can I boost my score? What are some things that I need to be looking out for, or some of the things I should be doing? So hope that helped. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Make sure you like this video. Make sure if you haven't subscribed to the channel, help me build it up. I would really appreciate it. If you have any questions, you know how to DM and reach me. So with that said, have an amazing rest of your day, and I will catch you next time. Take care.